Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, and welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. I know what you're thinking. What the hell's going on, Big B? Why do you have on this Steelers stuff? Hey, it's draft day. I'm a Steelers Almighty channel. It's a big day. I didn't feel like changing shirts and all of that kind of stuff. So this is what you get from me today. I apologize. But it is what it is, man. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to speak to us today. Look, we're going to get in to talking about this stuff as far as the judge holding up the House versus the NCAA ruling. At some point, we've got to fix this. It's just got to get done. You know, we keep dragging it on and on. Now there's a holdup here with the roster limits, and we're going to get into that a little bit today. So appreciate you guys being in here. As always, before we get started, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in that comment section, and always hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So first off, just so we understand what's going on, Judge Claudia Wilkins, she has basically delayed the House settlement because of the roster limitations. The problem is that it will hurt players that are currently, going to basically be cut because of the roster limit. And my first initial thought is, yeah, that's going to happen. But we always knew that was going to happen. And now they're saying, well, that's going to harm some of the kids. And I agree. It's going to harm some of the kids. But didn't we always know that? That's my whole thing is, well, and she's saying you should be able to grandfather them in, and the NCAA, because their whole counter to the settlement is, look, I guess let me backtrack here. The settlement, $2.8 billion to settle for damages to previous players and all that as far as money they didn't get paid. I think a lot of people understand that part. So they're settling out of court versus going to trial. The NCAA says as part of that is that the scholarships, now the NCAA is able to limit the number of scholarships for each sport that you can do. Well, part of that is now that has gone away. Well, what the NCAA is trying to do is say, okay, you can only give a number of scholarships to each particular sport. You can only give that much. That's basically going to keep the rich from getting richer. Some of the big schools out there, they can give as many scholarships as they want. They're trying to limit that so people can't just stockpile a bunch of talent. To me, that actually makes sense. I don't like the fact that you're limiting rosters, but it is what it is. Because I think, hey, if you want to limit the number of scholarships and the number, that's fine, which is what they do now. But now they're limiting the number of people that you can actually have on your team. So 85 scholarships, you can go up to 100. I think it's 104. Okay, great. But you can't have any more players than 104 on your roster. That's it. I don't know. First of all, this is all adults doing. So whenever adults are involved, in my opinion, 95% of the time, there's going to be some kids that get hurt by this. That's just kind of the way this thing works. So it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Like, what ruling are we talking about here? We knew that there was going to be some changes, and unfortunately, there's consequences to stuff, and the kids have to take the brunt of that. But I would say everybody's not, I guess the devil's advocate to that is everybody's not meant to play college Division I football or big-time college football or college football in general or basketball or swimming. Whatever the sport may be, everybody isn't cut out to do that. So while you say, well, we want these kids here, and I appreciate that, everybody doesn't get the opportunity to play. I mean, and that's the pushback. It's pretending that there's no participation trophies in this. Like, we don't allow everybody to come, and even if you're a walk-on, everybody doesn't get to walk on. Everybody doesn't get a spot. And I know what people are thinking is that, well, if they really want to be there and they want to be a part of it, which I agree with, I think every program that embraces the walk-on program, I think you're a better program for it. I really do. You embrace that because, number one, how many of those kids are going to actually be contributors to your program? Stop. Every single one of those kids is a contributor. Just because you may not see it on Saturdays doesn't mean they're not contributing to your program. If they're a practice dummy for 4 years, they're contributing. So I know what everybody's going to think. Well, if they're not playing, then they're not contributing. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. And firsthand, I saw it every day for 2 years. Those guys contribute just like everybody else. They may just not be as good. I see the back and forth with this. And the NCAA, who I usually put 100% of the blame on everything because they created this mess, they're actually trying. Now, you may not like what they're trying to do, but they're trying. They're doing something because they have been punched and knocked down, and they're getting up and they're saying, okay, man, we got to do something. We can't let this get out of hand and let the rich get richer. Now, you may not like how they're doing it, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep this in place. Well, the judge, in my opinion, is now overreaching. Look, they've come to a settlement. Okay. Yes, there's going to be some kids that are hurt by this, but you know what? Whether it's right now or whether it's 4 years from now, aren't kids still going to be hurt by this, by limiting the number? Yes. Is it tough conversations that coaches are going to have with players saying, hey, I know you really wanted to be here, but I'm sorry, man. We've got to cut down to this number, and you're not part of that. How is that any different than what the high school kid does or the high school coach does at cut down day for basketball? We appreciate you. I know you want to be a part of the team, but unfortunately you didn't make it. That happens all the time, and I think people lose sight of that, And I know what you're saying. Well, that's not the same, Big B, because these people were part of the team before. You're telling me in high school there's nobody that makes the team 1 year and doesn't make it the next? Happens all the time. Happens all the time. So I get that it's tough conversations. I mean, I get that it's heartbreaking because I believe that it is. But this is the world that we live in, unfortunately. There's good, there's bad, there's consequences. And I would also say this, if we keep it in perspective, the worst thing in the world is not being cut from your college football team or swimming team or cross-country team. It may not seem like that now. It may seem like a tough pill to swallow. It may be where, come on, Big B, you have no heart. Yeah, sure I do. But you know me. I live in reality. And reality is everybody doesn't get what they want. That's only for babies. Babies always get what they want. Okay? Adults do not. And you know me, I call them kids anywhere between 18 and 24. Kids, they don't always get what they want because they're not babies anymore. Babies do. So that's the difference. It's a tough pill to swallow. It stinks, in my opinion. I'm not here to tell you that it's good at all. But it is the reality that we have to live in. Look, there's sacrifices that have to be made. Unfortunately, there's things that we have to do if we're going to try to move this thing in the right direction. Scholarship limits are part of it. Again, I don't like it, but this is where we are. If there was another avenue, and here's the thing, the defendants, in this case, they are saying, hey, either you change it or we'll just go to trial because they believe they have all the leverage, and they probably do. And the damages are going to be much more than $2.8 billion. So they're like, hey, we're not working with anything. And the judge is on their side saying, you guys got to fix it. I think the judge is overreaching here. They've agreed to everything else but this. This can't be the sticking point. In this settlement, look, there's a lot of sticking points. There's a lot of moving parts to this. But if you're trying to tell me that the only thing in the way of this is because there's going to be kids that lose out on opportunities to be a part of the team right now, it's happening immediately. That's the only sticking point. And I know that's easy for me to say. I'm not in it. I'm not one of the kids that's losing out. I totally understand that. But come on, man. That can't be the only sticking point here. But it is. That can't be what holds this thing up, you know? And my thinking is, at some point, adults have to get in a room and say, okay, the judge, if she wants, hey, look, I know you have all the leverage, but you got to work with the NCAA and we got to figure this thing out. Okay. But they're not wanting to do anything. They're just saying, hey, NCAA, you better fix it. You heard what the judge said, fix it. Again, somebody's got to get in the room. A real adult's got to get in the room and say, look, man, this is the avenue. Do you want there to be such an unfair advantage that it's ridiculous, you know? And I'm not going to name schools, but there's going to be schools out there that just stockpile talent. They've got the money. They're just going to give scholarships to everybody if there isn't limits. They're just going to be. If there's no limits on the number of scholarships that you can give, what do you think they're going to do? Of course they're going to have the money. Of course they're going to pay people. Now, you could say, well, if they're not playing, they're not going to stay. You don't know that for a fact. There's plenty of people that stay and just say, hey, man, I'm here. Why would I go to another school where I don't even know if I'm going to have a scholarship in a year? I don't even know that. I'm going to stay right where I'm at and ride this thing out, try to develop, try to get better. But that's my problem with it, is that nobody is just saying, yes, we understand that this is the mess that we created. There's going to be carnage getting out of this. And we've got to do it right now to keep from creating such an unfair advantage that it's ridiculous. And that's what I at least applaud the NCAA for that. I think the NCAA is one of the worst organizations in the United States of America. I have no problem saying that. But at least they're trying. Now, you may not agree, and I don't know that I necessarily like it, but this is at least a way to try to figure some of this stuff out. But the judge has got to look, you can't let this be the sticking point. You just can't be. You know, hey, I don't like it, so you need to go back to the drawing board. How many times are you going to say that? And everything else you've agreed to sign off on except for this, it stinks for the kids. I 100% understand that. But they're getting the back pay. They're getting the money, which is what we've all wanted. Well, I shouldn't say we all wanted, but a lot of people wanted. And now it's, well, you can't limit the number. I mean, it's getting out of hand, in my opinion. It's getting out of hand. You know, I fight the whole, well, it's ruining college athletics. I fight it every single day because I think people that say that are crazy because, again, people still go to games. They show up. They watch on TV. I go, but this is a way to keep it from getting out of hand and from actually ruining what's going on. This is a way to do that. And now we're getting in the way. It's almost like the kids are being, not necessarily the kids, but the attorneys on that side are starting to be a little bit greedy. And we all know what happens when greed gets involved, man. The NCAA was greedy for decades. Well, now they're paying the piper for that. And now the shoe's on the other foot. But you don't want it to the pendulum to switch and flip, that far. You don't want that, man. You got to try to meet it in the middle a little bit if we're going to make this thing work. And we got to make it work. We don't have to like it, but we do have to make it work. Again, I think the kids, it stinks for them, but it's a reality. Unfortunately, it's just a reality. So, and whether you do it, like I said, whether you do it in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, would you rather just have the Band-Aid ripped off or do you want it pulled off slow? Because that's basically what we're talking about. Ripping a Band-Aid completely off or doing it slowly over a period of time. Still hurts the same. Still going to get to the same result. We're just doing it slower. I don't know. That's just me, man. Appreciate you all, man. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Appreciate y'all having the patience with us during the off season here. We're trying to come up with as many topics as we possibly can, man. We appreciate you, and we will talk to you soon. You guys have a good one.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.